What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Pete's Carport. So behind me is the new to the channel 1986 Mercedes 420 SEL. And I picked this thing up right about 4 or 5 days ago. And so far, I have had nothing but a blast with this thing. I actually took it on a trip to go visit my parents today, and they live approximately 40 miles away. So I did about an 80-mile round trip with this car, and it drove absolutely phenomenal. Only small minor things that I caught, which were the tires are probably a little bit older, and they either need to be balanced or replaced, which I will be doing probably within the next couple of months. This is not going to be a daily driver, so I'm not going to jump into that right away. But the other only really major thing that was wrong with this car when I got it is the AC was not blowing cold. So I spent the day jumping on forums trying to figure out what some of the issues are when it concerns to the AC units on these cars. This has been converted over to a 134A system. It looks like they've replaced some of the hose lines. So my guess is the system has been working recently and they had it serviced. The one thing I noticed is when I tried to fill it, the compressor would not kick on, and it would basically overfill the system and not allow the 134A to go into the actual system and cool it off. So I got on some forums as soon as I got home and found that this right here, which is basically the AC relay, and it's called a Klima, I guess a Klima switch. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it obviously says Klima right on it. And this finds its home right up here, and it slides in there. Okay, and what you're going to want to do if you want to see if your clutch is not engaging and you want to see if you can jump it, is you want to pull that. Underneath here, you're going to see that there are some numbers and basically some prongs. And if you look at this, you're going to see numbers like 87 and 15. And let me see if I can get a flashlight, because if you look down in here, you're going to see other numbers. And what was happening to me, so you're going to see like 5, 7, and so on. And so basically you're going to jump the 5 and 7, which I don't know if I can focus on that. If you look right there, the 5 and 7 are the two, that not the first one, but the next two next to it that I'm shining the light on. And if you look at the bottom of this, it's going to relate to 87 and 15. And so it's these two right here. Now, a lot of people on these forums discuss, jumping this relay because it was a very expensive part to replace, and it had a lot of known issues in the older models. And from what I've read, 1985 and prior, you can jump these and have no issues. And this is just off of forums what I've read. Because of the way the belts were set up, it was separate belts. But on the 86 and up, like mine, it's not something you want as a permanent fix. But the reason why I'm doing this today is to see if I can get it filled up, put this switch back in, and see if we can get cold air. So I actually was playing around trying to fill this earlier and got it to where it was actually the clutch kicked on and I was able to fill it, but I couldn't get it to the point of being filled. It's basically still, well, it's showing in the red, but it's still in the white, which is the low, and I'm not getting cold air yet. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I can run up to the store, pick up another one of those cans, get it to the point where it's in the filled area, and we can get some cold AC. So stay tuned. I'm going to run up there now and grab another can, come back, and I'm going to show you guys how to jump the clutch so that you're able to fill it. Okay, guys, so I know a lot of people might find this video that have never added freon to their car. And so I'm going to give you a quick breakdown now. This is only if you have the converted system to a 134, which is your 134A freon like that. And you want to make sure you get any basic can of that just to test the system, because if there's leaks, you don't want to spend a fortune on this stuff and then have to replace it anyways. Also, you want to get yourself a nice gauge. So basically, this system, as long as you've got the updated one without the can that needs the extra needle on there, you can screw this on, and you'll know when you go up to the auto parts store what I'm talking about there. Then, once you get that screwed on, no gas should be coming out till you basically snap this onto your end cap here, and this is your low end. So it should be a blue cap. Now the good news is the adapter that you get from the auto parts store will only fit on the low end, so you don't have to worry about putting it onto the wrong one, because the high end is a completely different size. So let me go ahead and get that snapped up, and then I'm going to show you guys what the next step is. Okay, so now once you have this hooked up, you don't want to do anything until you turn your car on and you put your AC on max. So on this car, it's a little different than some of the newer cars, where your max is going to be basically this button here and either auto or this top fan. And mine's actually not kicking on yet. It's had a couple issues, but I'm gonna play around with it, get it to kick on. Now I'm gonna show you guys the next thing. If the compressor is not kicking on and you go to fill it, it's just gonna max out very quickly, because you're only filling the little tube here and it's not flowing into the system. So now what you want to do is, if your clutch is not engaging and you filled it, it's still not engaging, with this vehicle we're going to be jumping that 5 and 7, basically the prongs. So I made myself a little U like this, like I showed you earlier. If we get down in here with the light, our 5 and 7 is that right there. So if I were to go ahead and jump that, which I'm going to do right now, you're going to hear the compressor kick on. I'm going to do it with 2 hands so I can make sure I do it right. Okay, so I got it in there. Now you can hear the actual compressor clutch kicking on, and you can see that this now went into the low area. So now if I squeeze the trigger, it's going to shoot up, but when I let go, it's going to show me where it actually is. Now you should hold this can upside down. You'll feel it get cold, and then you want to stop and check it every once in a while till you get into that green. And then if you're in a hotter climate or colder climate, you got to read the can, but I believe that you're going to be going a little bit higher if you're in a hotter climate, like into the yellow for me. And so let it settle down too. When you hold it down, it's going to jump into the green possibly and settle down into the white. And obviously if you got a major leak, it's going to start leaking out. So I'm going to go ahead and check to see if it's getting cold, if everything's clicking on. Okay guys, so awesome news, the AC is getting cold. Now I do have another strange issue where the fans the blower doesn't kick on until sometimes I put it in reverse. It's very strange. And then I just had it click on, click off, click on, click off, and then I started to fill the freon. I came back over and it was fully on. And what I read is this AC is not a super cold AC anyways, and it's definitely blowing cold, but not like a really cold AC unit. And a lot of it just because they don't have the best AC control system that they've had, in other vehicles. I don't even think my W140 gets cold, but it's not as easy to use as far as the system here as the newer models, where they went to the digital and so forth, where you can kind of see what the temperature was. It's very weird. They just have this scroll up and scroll down to go from cold to hot. But good news, it's getting cold, and that did work. Now my next step to do is going to be to put the fuse back in without the jumper cable and see if it just needed to get the system filled so that the clutch can engage on its own, or this is going to need to be replaced, or I can keep it jumped with an actual toggle switch is another thing I've heard people do. So that's another option. Just be careful when you do that, because if your compressor seizes up or freezes over, it could snap your serpentine belt, which runs a lot of your electrical system, and you won't be able to drive, and you'll have to replace that belt and another cost. So as you can see here where it's at, it seems like it's holding pretty good there. I pretty much went through most of this can, and it feels like it's pretty empty. Oh, it's getting a little bit more there. Usually when I get up a little bit more, it bounces back down and kind of settles. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. If you have an issue you think with leaks, you can run a leak detector, which is a dye, basically 134 with a dye in it, and then you can, there's a light you could use to see the dye and see where it's coming from. A lot of times it's not a super expensive fix, and people get very worried about leaks, but it could be a very inexpensive fix if it's one of these lines here and so forth. You can just replace them, and that is my guess on these here. They were leaking, they converted it over to 134. So my guess is that the system's been resealed back off and fixed, but that relay is not working currently. I hope this guy, I really hope this video helps somebody out there mess with this, because I couldn't find any videos, but I found tons of forums. I am a video person. It's sometimes difficult to follow people on forums because they'll talk about things that you may not know. Like everybody was talking about jumping the 5 and 7 on this Klima, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And of course, then I searched more and more and found where people broke down exactly what this is, what this does, and the reason why it's so expensive and why you want to just jump it to see if you can get it working. But my name's Pete. This is Pete's Carport. I'm pretty excited that I got cold AC now. If you don't know, I'm in Florida, and it is like 92 degrees out today. And so this is a much needed thing. I killed myself today driving around without the AC. So I'm excited that me and my wife are going to be able to enjoy this car now with a little bit of cold breeze. Have a great day, guys. Like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for building the channel up, guys. I'm almost at 1,000. I'm excited when I hit that point. We're going to be doing a lot of more really cool videos on the SC, on the Mercedes, and hopefully bringing in even more cars. Have a blessed week, guys.